We'll say hi. We are on the final. So I'm trying to discern how much to how much to give on this. Reward you for being here. Let's see here. All right, so Dulce. Uh, they come straight out of the handouts. So I couldn't stop you if I wanted to. You taking this final on online, just have your recent like 4 assignments opened, if you could, and just go right to them. So it begins with the Latinos in the Depression era, right, and with the New Deal, and then you have the Latinos in World War II, and then you also have Latinos, followed by Latinos in the Cold War, and then Latinos in the Civil Rights Movement. So if you go through those, this is a new test. It's a very short test. It's only 25 questions, and it's straight out of them. All right. So what was not mentioned by the instructor as an indicator of how the Depression era U.S. embraced the Mexican American community. You'll find the pendulum of popular sentiment, you'll find economics, and you will find political events on there. So the one that does not fit was the behavior of Mexican Americans. Railroads bringing more than manufactured and harvested products to market, but they also brought cultural dissemination, right? And then it talks about that, how baseball and American sports and other cultural components were brought via the railroad into Mexico. So that one is true. Then going on to the next couple, the Dillingham Commission demonstrated the cosmopolitan and tolerant outlook of its American progressive authors. Take a look at that. Okay, and I think you'll find that the answer is clear in that handout, as is number 4. The Immigration Act of 24 symbolized a period of American tolerance and appreciation for diversity. So take a look at that first handout since test 3, and that will become clear as well as far as the immigration policy of the 1920s. 5, despite the evidence of a nativistic xenophobic trend in the 20s, the handout contends that the Roaring '20s economy and pro-business Republican leadership opened arms for Mexican immigrants to find agricultural labor that paid better than back in Mexico. That is true. That is actually true. Then 6, the handout contends that during the Roaring '20s, Mexican Americans became a hybrid or hyphenated people, Mexican American, mixing their Native American culture with that of the United States. And I have some quotes by Suarez in Spanish and translated, and it makes just that point. All right. Republican leaders of the 20s made an exception for their tolerance of big business, making it tough for corporations and agribusiness to recruit Mexican immigrant laborers. I'm not sure about that one. Take a look at there, and you'll find what they did as far as their friendliness to big business and their openness to immigration, to immigrant workers. Number 8, according to the handout, Hispanic Americans benefited from the New Deal programs, just as did Anglo Americans. The part that makes this false is that part right there, just as did Anglo Americans, receiving federal jobs and legal protection of the Wagner Act. The Wagner Act did not apply to migrant workers. And I made the contention that at the national level, the New Deal programs were colorblind, but they were carried out at the local level. And when the local levels carried it out, they showed discriminatory preference for Anglo-American people. All right. Let's see here. Despite Depression-era competition with Okies arriving in California, desperate agribusinesses set aside their intolerance and preferred to hire Mexican laborers instead, for they would work for much less. It's kind of a good trick question. because that does make sense in light of what they did during the 20s, during the Roaring 20s, right? Open it up for cheap immigrant work when the economy was doing well. But when the economy was not doing well during the Depression and the Okies came to get the jobs, usually the Okies were preferred. All right. Number 10, Court American history contends that the U.S. is fighting a just war against the spread of fascism and the Holocaust, which of course is true because court history is patriotic history, right? Pro-U.S. The World War II handout suggests that the U.S. did not always employ humanitarian and just methods in fighting World War II. And there's a complete section on that. Carpet bombing, the use of the nuclear bomb, etc. Number 12, the handout claims that despite cultural prejudice that Latinos had to contend with, residential segregation, politically poor representation, and lower income levels were already becoming problems of the past. By the time World War II erupted, I think you'll find that that is not the case in your World War II assignment. So take a look back at that. Despite the heroism of Mexican-American soldiers, they were thrown in harm's way at places like the Rapido River, refused burial like Felix Longoria of Texas, and attacked by white soldiers as in the Zoot Suit riots. That's all true, unfortunately. Then 14, Executive 9, Order 9066 was cited from World War II to suggest that the U.S.'s government and military were slowly eradicating their heritage of racial discrimination. Well, what was Executive Order 9066? Remember, that was the internment of the Japanese. So that's hardly suggestive of eradicating their discriminatory heritage. All right. And then moving on to the Cold War. According to Latinos in the Cold War, the writer contends that Latinos failed to experience any upward mobility on the social and economic scale. Now, if I were to guess on number 15, I would have guessed true because, you don't have the civil rights movement yet, and there's got to be something that they contend against, right? A list of grievances. But when you read the information found on 15, you'll find that it's false. That ironically, right, during the Cold War, there was a post-war boom, and yes, even Hispanic Americans benefited from it. Number 16, the fruits of America's post-war economic boom in the 50s were evidently not spread out equitably to all. That also is true. There was a boom. Mexican Americans were slowly gaining entrance into white-collar middle-class status, but that does not mean that the fruits of the post-war boom were spread equitably. 17, Latinos failed to dispel the stereotype of being criminally prone during the 50s. And then I wrote about particularly the Puerto Rican community. And so remember the one that horrible quote, "You're Puerto Rican, do you carry a knife?" Okay. Number 18, American Cold War policies of supporting right-wing Latin American dictators and opposing regimes that fought for economic equity entails no evidence of Latinos in the U.S. resenting such involvement in their ancestral homes. No, that's not true. Number 19, conservative Latino organizations like LULAC openly embraced America's political culture of forced conformity and angst over a fifth column of traitors in an effort to prove their loyalty and unity with white America. Again, I like to think that I wrote that where it makes sense, but it's not true. Okay. They were targeted and they resented the counterintelligence program of the FBI and this real oppressive Cold War culture of the 50s. Labor union organizers fell under the scrutinizing supervision of the FBI and its counterintelligence program. Yes, they did. All right. And in the handout, the method of nonviolent civil disobedience is initially praised for its efficacy, but then subsequently labeled as insufficient for everybody. And that's exactly what I contend in that handout. All right. Which of the following does not contain the Chicano movement leader with his or her connected contributions? A, Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta and unionizing farm workers, of course. B, Jose Angel Gutierrez, his accomplishments in getting discriminatory laws and practices abrogated as a LULAC lawyer. No, that's the one that doesn't fit. He wasn't a lawyer. Corky Gonzalez's leadership in the formation of the Mexican-American Party, La Raza Unida, and Sal Castro's leadership in the December 9th school walkouts in Los Angeles are both true. All right. Cesar Chavez, the United Farm Workers Union, registered Hispanics to vote. They convinced scab workers to join the strike. They led boycotts against fruits and vegetables sold by corporations unwilling to collectively bargain with the union, and carried out marches and fasts. That is all true. Okay. 24. According to the Chicano movement video on public schools, Mexican-American protesters simply demanded integration with white students. You check out that video, they asked for a lot more. They wanted Chicano studies. They wanted Mexican-American students to stop being pigeonholed into vocational training. They wanted more Hispanic teachers and several other things. And then 25, according to the political empowerment video on the Chicano movement, even the most militant present at the Denver convention sought complete integration. And that was part of their militancy. Is, remember, they wanted semi-autonomy for the Chicano people in kind of a semi-confederate part of the government known as Aztlan. So they wanted Mexican-American politicians for Mexican-Americans. They wanted complete autonomy in the entire, kind of Midwest and Southwest of the United States. They did not. They wanted something a little less than complete integration. That was part of their separatism. It was what partially marked them as being radical. They wanted the Chicano people to be self-sufficient and rule themselves almost independently, yet within the Federal Republic of the United States. So then that one would be false. All right. So does anybody have any questions? Let me make sure that I have your names down. So like I said, these are all found. If you took your time and went one by one and looked for the section to which I was alluding to from each of the four assignments, the final four assignments, I think you could theoretically get every single one of these right. All right. So I would love to just kind of get a word from you guys. Anybody, all of you, the three of you. Do you guys feel like you learned something this semester? Did you guys gain anything?
I did.
Thank you, Dulce.
It was an interesting course, so I learned a couple new things.
Good. I hope so. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I'm glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. You guys doing okay with all your other classes and your this kind of scrunch time with finals?
Yeah, a lot of assignments piled up also.
I bet. I bet.
Yeah.
Go ahead, hon.
Oh no, nothing. I was just saying. I was just agreeing.
Yeah, that was always the case with me. Always the case with me. Everything lots of stuff piled up right at the time of the finals. So I hope that you guys also got my my announcement. I have no power over it. When I put in the 15th as the due date, it turns red and it won't let me submit it. And it says you must put within the confines of the semester. So I have to go back to the 14th, and then it'll let me hit submit as far as the due date. So so as much as I myself would give you, the 15th and 16th to turn stuff in, if the Canvas system itself will not allow me to put in due dates beyond the 14th, it may not allow any of your submissions for makeup work, this final test, beyond the 14th either. So please play it safe, okay? And make sure that you've submitted everything by midnight of Thursday night of the 14th of December, okay? And I would imagine that goes for all your classes that are on Canvas. I can't imagine that the due dates given to me as a history instructor will be any different from any of your other classes.
Yeah, all of my assignments are due, I think, on the 14th
Okay.
at midnight.
All right. So yeah, so good luck, okay, you guys. And I had promised last week that I'd give you 2 goes at it. So you have to I set it up for 2 attempts. And if you'd like to take advantage of that, and of course the Canvas system will accept the higher of your 2 scores. All right.
Okay, is this it or
Yeah, this is it.
this is it? Okay.
Yeah, this is it.
All right. Thank you, and it was nice meeting you.
Igualmente, likewise. And you guys, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for coming and attending faithfully. I'll be sure to add your extra points that you've earned for doing that. And it's been a pleasure. I wish you guys well in your academic endeavors and just generally in your entire life. I hope you guys do well. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you. Have a good day.
Thank you, Dulce. You take care, hon. All right. So bye, you guys. Take care. I wish you well.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.